Can everybody hear me? I think so. Let's continue. On continue. The next TED Talk is also in English. Just a quick side note, I forgot to mention it previously, but there's somebody taking pictures and movie shots and stuff. So if you really don't want to be in the picture, please raise your hand now or let the cameraman know so he knows to cut you off the footage. Looks like everybody's okay with it, so let's continue. Laura, the floor is all yours. You're going to tell some more about your journey, unconventional journey on the labor market. So without further ado, the floor is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Jane, and I'm a graduate of the year 2013. Yes, that's right. I was among the first graduates of Windesheim Honors College. When I heard about this reunion... Oh, moet ik op de roost. When I heard about this reunion, my first reaction was, 12.5 years, where did they go? For those of you who are currently in their first year, you probably think 12.5 years is a long time. Well, I can tell you, they'll be yesterday for you too before you know it. So what are you going to do with them? When Wanda asked me to contribute to today, I was a bit surprised, because the theme of today is the added value of Windesheim Honors College on the labor market. And here I am, being without a job for most part of the year. Though, I suppose I'm a full-time adventurer. After graduating from Windesheim Honors College, I continued my studies at Maastricht University, where I did a Masters of Science in Global Health. I was looking forward to going onto the labor market and start making a difference. Reality was a bit less bright though, because I had an extremely hard time finding a job. I sent over 50 applications in about a year and a half's time, got invited to plenty of interviews, but always went home empty-handed. It was frustrating, because I had enjoyed my studies and did interesting internships in Cambridge, Colombia, and Ghana. Somehow, I ended up getting a job as key account manager for a pharmaceutical company, a position far outside of my comfort zone. I worked there for 2.5 years, and I learned a lot, and I grew personally. Though in the end, it started to take more energy than it was giving me. It was for me a sign to take a different route. Mid-2018, I gave up that job and traveled to Australia together with my partner Kevin. We spent almost all our money on an amazing four-wheel drive car and had to work on several farms for a couple of months to save some money again. We were enjoying ourselves, spending a lot of time outside in nature, camping, fishing, and hiking. Though after about 3/4 of a year, we started to get some doubts. Because even though we were on the other side of the world, it was still just a Western culture. One night, we watched a documentary on Netflix called Tales by Light, which is about the story behind the photo. This episode was about a young Aboriginal man from the desert visiting an Aboriginal elder in Queensland. Together, they walked through the bush, looking for ancient rock paintings, which were 10,000s of years old. The Aboriginal elder was explaining the meaning of these paintings to the young Aboriginal man. And this was the true history and culture of Australia. After watching this episode, I said to Kevin, that is what I want to do. A couple of weeks later, we traveled up north to the Kimberley, which is the north of Western Australia. Out of nowhere, we had arrived in this rough country without warning signs at every cliff, though full of crocodiles and bush you can get lost in no time. It feels so ancient, you're just waiting for the dinosaurs to cross the road. And we felt at home. There is a famous 600 kilometers dirt road called the Gibb River Road, which most people drive in about 2 days. But because we had saved some money again, we had the time to travel slowly and explore, and it took us a month. It was during this trip we traveled to Kalambaroo for the first time. Kalambaroo is the most remote indigenous community of Western Australia. Most people pass the community quickly to go fishing further up north in one of the most pristine fishing areas of the world. And so did we at first. Though on our way back, we hung around the community for a couple of days. We met the local people and also the CEO of the Kalambaroo Aboriginal Corporation, which is the organization that organizes several health services in the community. We really wanted to stay, but we were lacking some papers to get a job there. So we left. But as soon as we arrived in the bigger town, we started to organize these papers. The day we received them, we informed the CEO, and the following day, she rang us. Someone had resigned, and we got offered a job. 5 days later, we left almost everything we owned at our friend's place and flew back in this tiny 10-seater plane, seeing nothing but nature on our way to Kalambaroo, the place we would call home for almost a year and a half. In the following months, we started to build a relationship with the local people and often joined on fishing and hunting trips. We also established a friendship with Clary, who is one of the elders in the community. He is still very culturally connected to his parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and those before them. Clary is one of the first Aboriginals who grew up among the white people. He took us on our first bushwalk and showed us our first rock paintings. I remember so well, after our first trip, I said to Kevin, "Do you remember that episode from Tales by Light?" We actually did it today. We went on many more bushwalks with Clary and just with the two of us. Just walking and exploring. No signs, no roads, no track. Just following the waterways and our intuitions. Clary taught us about foods we could eat from the bush. He showed us sacred burial sites, and together we found so many rock paintings, which could have been thousands of years old and only seen by a handful of people. Frequently, he did a smoking ceremony for us to protect us from the evil spirits. I can't even put into words how special these experiences were. After leaving Kalambaroo, we took a couple of months off, during which we went on an amazing 3-week canoe adventure into nature without seeing any people. We were completely reliant on ourselves. I've never felt so strong and independent in my life, while I've never had so little. In August last year, we left everything behind again and came back to Europe. We converted the van into our home. We traveled to the French Alps to work in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and onwards to Catalonia, where we spent 2.5 months as close to nature as possible. We are extremely slow travelers and have lots of plans, which are probably more like dreams. And we can easily only drive 20 kilometers a day before we find a new beautiful spot. Which doesn't only help us to really get to know an area, but it's also very cheap. Over the years, I've had many jobs. Some short, some long, some great, some absolutely terrible. They brought me to the most beautiful places in the world. They've all been very different. When I look back at it now, it all seems to add up. Binatam Honors College provided a solid foundation and provided me with enough knowledge and practical experience to do all sorts of different jobs. It taught me the power of diversity and how to use differences and accept them. My job as key account manager built my confidence and told me that the only thing you cannot do is the thing you never try. It was partly because of this job I was able to obtain the job in Clamberu, the indigenous community where we lived. And with this experience, I now support a Dutch foundation, the Tribal Wisdom Foundation, to realize the perpetuation of indigenous knowledge all over the world, including the Netherlands. Over the years, I've also successfully been doing several grant applications for projects I support. And at the beginning of this year, I decided to start my own company to expand this. But like everyone else, we do need money to live too. So for the past few weeks, I've been in the Netherlands and working in hospitality. And 2 weeks from now, we'll be going to Sweden to work in a restaurant there. It's located next to an enormous lake and surrounded by forest. Afterwards, we'll be going to Iceland to guide a hiking trip for 2.5 weeks. When I say it out loud, I can hardly believe it because it really makes me excited. I do have my doubts sometimes, that I do not work hard enough, that I'm not busy enough, that I should work on a steady career. But what is working hard enough? What is being busy enough? What is a good career? In Clamberu, I was youth program coordinator and was responsible for organizing a youth program for distressed youth with severe family and mental issues. Part of my job was managing a team of local indigenous staff. And this is where I truly experienced how cultural differences influences the way we look at work. Often they wouldn't show up for meetings or activities we organized. And there was no reception in the community. So there I went, walk around trying to find them and ask them why they hadn't shown up for work. They would tell me they would come in a minute and never show up, or they had a headache or a bad night's sleep. Someone had fallen ill in their family, or they wanted to organize their internet banking. For the first few months, I got terribly frustrated and thought they were just lame excuses. But then I started to realize they were not. Someone had truly fallen ill in their family. They really had a headache, or a bad night's sleep. Or organizing their internet banking was just more important to them that day than working. We are so used to putting our work before everything, but not everyone is. So try to realize that when you're being hard on yourself. And try to make time to say yes to new adventures and to the things you like. To say yes when someone asks you for help. Try to make time and space to be able to make a change. Because what you want now might not be what you want in the future. And that's perfectly all right. It's easy to keep on pursuing our dreams from the past, though we do tend to forget to live our dream. Giving up everything has showed me the difference between what I thought I had to do and what I believe I should do myself. It showed me that I'm happiest when I have very little. When I look back at my 12.5 years, I do so with a smile, gratitude, a full heart, and a mind overflowing with memories. And I'm sure that if you take it slow sometimes, you will do too. Thank you so much.
If anybody has a burning question, we have time for one question until the next one. Sorry, we're on a really tight schedule.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tough act to follow.
Ah, yeah. 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 Yeah, so for me it was something that kind of grew. So I told you about the organization I work for, the Tribal Wisdom Foundation, and it was during a phone call with the founder that the idea came up that I could do fundraising for them or for the foundation. And that idea just grew, and at the beginning of this year I decided to start my own company and officially start fundraising for them. And at the same time, another foundation, I got in touch with another foundation and started to do the same for them. So for now I just have these two projects, and they're both projects I really believe in. They're small, so I really know the organization, I know the people, and I know that what they do and are things I stand for as well. So I suppose from a sustainability perspective, for me, if I do fundraising for a project or an organization, I want to be able to stand up for that organization or foundation. Yeah, I'm not sure if that really answers your question. Yeah, so it's really small at the moment, and that's why I'm also working on the side still. It is something I can do from anywhere in the world, which is what I would love to, but it's also because it's just in the startup phase. It's still growing, and I'm still learning along the way. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura Jane. Very inspiring story. All right, we have 3 small minutes until the next TED Talk. So I was about to say you can go to the toilet, but you actually can't, unless you're not planning to visit the next one, because 3 minutes is really fast. So is Vera Boutin in the audience? That's you? Yes. All right, you're up next. So if you could get your headset working.